Britain's Keir Starmer stood before Parliament last week and tried to explain why he sent Lord Peter Mandelson to be U.S. ambassador when he knew that Mandelson was deeply compromised by Jeffrey Epstein. It didn't work. The media are now calling Starmer a dead man walking. And you can see how damaging this is by how desperately the city is trying to make it go away. They sent out the discredited MI6 spy, Christopher Steele, to claim that the whole Epstein network was actually a Russian intelligence operation. The same Christopher Steele, who gave us the debunked Russia dossier, is now telling us that the City of London's dirty laundry is actually Putin's fault. They're running the same play they ran in 2016. But the real problem is the United States, where Donald Trump keeps adding pieces to his American system economic revolution. Trump's actions have emboldened American system fans like Warren Koss and Steve Bannon to finally enthusiastically explain it to the American people. Here's their exchange.
Hang on. So I want to make sure we name this as a construct for people. So we're dancing around. It's the American system. It's what Hamilton, and I say, along with the Declaration of Independence, something that doesn't get as much play that almost should, is Hamilton's report on manufacturers. And you had, Andrew Jackson was part of that. Lincoln, as a Whig, this whole party stood for this, the American system. And I kind of say this is what Lyndon LaRoche's people also talk about. Talk to me about the American system. Why is the alternative quite different than late-stage finance capitalism that we find ourselves in this kind of cul-de-sac?
Now, Bannon just named the thing that terrifies the City of London more than anything else. Not tariffs, not the Epstein files, the American system itself. The economic alternative that makes their entire globalist casino obsolete. And that's why the empire's operatives are in overdrive right now. Christopher Steele didn't crawl out from under his rock to spin Epstein as a Russian spy because things are going real well for the City of London. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I've been in the fight between the American system and the globalist system now for over 40 years. And I'm happy to tell you that at this point, for the first time, the American system is coming out on top. Today, I'm going to first show you how the Epstein disclosures reveal how the globalist financial system was rigged. Then I'm going to show you that the elite's panic isn't just because they're being exposed and caught. It's because their casino economy has run out of chips, and Donald Trump has called their bluff. Finally, I'll show you why Christopher Steele's desperate attempt to blame Russia actually exposes even more about how the City of London and Wall Street have done their very dirty business. So if you're up for the ride, please like and share this video. It increases our reach on YouTube. Lord Peter Mandelson was called the Prince of Darkness in British circles. That's because he engineered the career of Tony Blair and what the British Labour Party calls New Labour, i.e. globalization. Like Bill Clinton in the US, it was a con job, feigning concern to the lower classes while giving the elites and the banks free rein. Mandelson was the satanic brain behind many of the Anglo-American schemes, breathing life into what they called the rules-based order. To recap, the recent Epstein release shows Mandelson trading deep insider financial information with Epstein from 10 Downing Street during the 2008 financial collapse. The documents suggest they are managing the crisis itself, seeking maximum profit for themselves and their network after their practices led, after all, to that very financial collapse. For example, Mandelson counsels Epstein that Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan Chase should, quote, mildly threaten the British Chancellor of the Exchequer over the bonus tax the British government imposed on bankers' bonuses. You see, the bankers were still frantically claiming their bonuses after they caused the collapse. Dimon followed through and threatened per Mandelson's advice. In France, the latest Epstein files confirm an extremely close relationship between the French-German head of the Edmond de Rothschild group, Ariane de Rothschild, and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. That's one of the largest and most significant banks in the world. From 2013 until his death in 2019, Epstein acted as an unofficial advisor to the Switzerland-based bank. When the bank came under U.S. DOJ investigation for money laundering, Epstein arranged a sweetheart deal through his close confidant, Catherine Rumler, Barack Obama's former White House lawyer. Then there's the current CEO and president of the World Economic Forum, Borge Brendi. Forbes tells us that his Epstein relationship has led to an internal investigation and a possible fight for control of the World Economic Forum with the founder, Klaus Schwab. Schwab himself, of course, had to resign because of sexual and financial scandal. Alex Grainer has a very insightful piece about all of this. You should read it. He documents how the public operatives for London's rules-based order are vetted and picked. They are all deeply flawed. Their flaws are well known so that they can be controlled by the individuals and institutions behind the public show. Now, as if by divine force, the covers have been ripped off, and the men and women behind the curtain can now start to be exposed. Now, most American commentators can't make sense of what's happening here because they focus only on the domestic side of the equation. They miss the British chessboard entirely, the City of London, British intelligence, the offshore financial system, the royalty. That's the fight we've been tracking at Promethean Action for decades. It's what makes our coverage very different. And if you want to see the world that most people don't even think exists, subscribe to our free newsletter. The link is in the description. But the real bigger truth here is that Donald Trump has called all their bluffs. Before Orrin Koss went on Bannon to be cross-examined about Trump's American system of economics, he wrote an article in the New York Times calling out Wall Street and the City of London for the financialization schemes and crimes through which they have looted our economy. It's titled, "The Finance Industry is Grip. It's time to start treating it that way." He says his original title was How to Save Capitalism from the Capitalists. Here's a couple of his money quotes. In a financialized economy, businesses become mere sources of cash, assets to be manipulated and then operated for maximum investor returns. Workers become just another cost like lumber. Customers are just revenue streams to be tapped. It has corrupted sectors in which the profit motive was never meant to reign supreme in our country. Veterinary practices, funeral parlors, campgrounds, residential treatment services, youth sports, hospitals and nursing homes, even suppliers for volunteer fire departments. Consolidating and managing them with ruthless efficiency, squeezing the vulnerable customers and then pointing to the higher cash flow as somehow value creation. But that system has now failed. It's run out of chips, and the establishment can no longer hide the fact. Its final burial is due to the American system of economics being wielded now by the Trump administration. It puts the emphasis on raising productivity, raising workers' wages, investing in the infrastructure and the science and technologies of the future. That means banks must be lending money for these purposes. As Secretary Besson keeps emphasizing, it's now Main Street's turn. But the captured functionaries of the old system will go willingly without a fight. Their media and politicians censor the president's policies rather than explaining them to the American people. They're also pumping poison 24/7 to the American people about Donald Trump. Just look at these two exchanges with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in the House last week. He was there to report on the fundamental economic progress being made by President Trump. When the Treasury Secretary began to document the impact of illegal immigration on housing supply and costs, Ranking Member Maxine Waters called for him to be, quote, shut him up.
10 and 20 million immigrants took up the housing stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentleman, his time has expired.
No, my time has not expired.
Congressman Gregory Meeks just went publicly berserk.
All you have to ask is yes or no.
No, Congressman.
All you have to ask
The
is yes or no.
OCC is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman.
So I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela.
I take that as a no.
On behalf of
So just as the globalist elite crashes in London, out trots disgraced MI6 fabricator Christopher Steele to attempt to make it all go away. Steele, you may remember, is the author of the fake dirty dossier on Donald Trump, which was the founding document of the Russiagate coup d'etat in the United States. Steele, in an interview with the London Times, tells us in no uncertain terms that Epstein was the ultimate Putin super spy, running incredibly sophisticated honey traps in which the world's best and brightest were somehow all captured by Russian organized crime. If you didn't follow the ins and outs of Russiagate, you might think these lies are all new. They're not. They were part and parcel of lies about Donald Trump concocted in the 2016 to 2018 operation, which involved the CIA, MI6, and much of the American establishment. Steele's lies cover up the real scandal, which all comes back to the City of London and current British and American political operatives. When the Soviet Union disbanded, Russia was looted to the bone by oligarchs functioning under the control of the City of London bankers. Jacob Rothschild, for example, was the controller of the oligarch Mikhail Khodorkovsky, and that's all documented. Russian organized crime provided huge chunks of the looted revenue flow into the City of London banking center, as well as the New York Fed. Many believe that without it, the City of London bankers would not have survived the 90s. When Putin came to power, he ended much of that. But the dirty money flows from Russian organized crime continued into London's bank and offshore havens. 4 years ago, Chatham House, the think tank for British secret intelligence, claimed that it was finally shutting down what they admitted was Russia's London money laundering. It became just too ostentatious and just too exposed. So, despite Christopher Steele's fictions, all roads continue to lead right back to London when you're looking for the corrupt and perverted authors of the dying system. So this Saturday, the perverted world elites find themselves trapped between the failure of their system and the exposures of their true character and crimes. They can only manufacture lies and destruction. Trump's American system of prosperity, productivity, and the mission to create a better life for your children provides the escape hatch from this hell. But the American people have to know about Trump's policies and the system which has powered every economic growth spurt in our nation's history. The American system has to be hammered home to people ahead of the midterms. The key question to your congressional representative has to be, what do you know about the American system? Do you support it? That's how you should determine your vote. That educational mission is what Promethean Action has adopted as our most urgent task. You can support us by subscribing to our newsletter and joining our community. The link is in the description. Thanks so much for listening.
Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at prometheanaction.com.